Spirit Sports Consultants presents our weekly NFL picks. This week features some really great matchups. Here with more details, we turn it over to our analyst team.
And in this video, we're going to do our matchups, and we're also going to do our power rankings. We're going to start doing one at a time from 5 to 1. But first, to start with the games, we've got the Falcons at the Vikings in what we're calling the Kirk Cousins revenge game. Can Cousins come back to face his former team and play better than he did against the Chargers? One of the worst games. We're actually in Atlanta this weekend. A lot of disappointed Falcons fans with that 4-interception performance against the Chargers. On the upside, the defense didn't allow many points considering one of the touchdowns was on a pick six. So we think the Falcons are going to come back and cover the spread. We're not going to give you a score prediction. We're going to give you a line prediction. Like the Falcons here covering that 5-point spread on the road at Minnesota. And the Bills travel after that Sunday night game, travel out west to LA to face the Rams. Stay tuned for our power rankings to see where the Buffalo Bills line up. We think they're one of the best teams, if not the best team, in the AFC, despite the fact that the Chiefs are leading in record. They had the head-to-head win. Just the way that they're winning games is very impressive. They went out to Seattle a few weeks back and took care of business. We think they can do the same thing on the West Coast over the Rams. We think the Rams are definitely a playoff contender. We think the Bills are just right up there. And like we said, they're in our power rankings to see where they end up. Definitely they're going to be in the top 3. Spoiler alert. All right, let's get into our power rankings. We're going to start off, do these one at a time. We're going to start off with number 5, and at 5 we have the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, their record's the best in the AFC. We still think there are teams that are better. We're concerned with the way that they're winning games narrowly. Maybe that's the strategy. Reed and Mahomes toying with inferior opponents. Not sure, but again, they lost against the Bills. We're not sure how they really measure. Had a couple of lucky wins early in the season. Let's take a look at this matchup as they host the Chargers. This could be key for the AFC West. The Chargers are really close, right behind the Chiefs. And we look at these two teams, it's the defense that's the focus. The Chargers defense led the way in that victory over Atlanta. Offense didn't do much. In this game, we think it's going to be a defensive struggle. Look for the under here. We love that 45.5. Number's probably going to go down. So if you like that game, take the under 45.
And before we continue, if you would, just join our channel. And if you like this video or find it useful, like it and then subscribe. We provide weekly NFL picks, highlights, and sports travel. Thank you.
And next up, we have the Bears at the 49ers. The Bears firing head coach Matt Eberflus after that disastrous loss at Detroit when they had the chance to win it. Clock management issues. 49ers dealing with so many injuries. Looks like Christian McCaffrey might be finished for the season. We got to wait to hear about that. For this game, we think it's going to be a Bears cover. I think it's going to be a high line. We're seeing 6.5 to 7. I think the Bears have been one of the unluckiest. Maybe they're just the most poorly coached, that's how you say it, team in the NFL. We think they keep it close here. 49ers win, Bears cover. Next up, we have the All-Underachiever Bowl as the Bengals face the Cowboys. Cowboys really due to injuries to Dak Prescott and key performers on defense. Bengals, we're not sure what the excuse is. You've got Joey B, got T. Higgins, got Jamar Chase. They're just not doing it. We think it's on defense, but definitely a clear disappointment. Not sure where the Bengals go from here. We're going to give the Cowboys the edge here, 21-17, although we don't really feel that strongly about this one, and we would not bet it. Continue our power rankings. We have the number 4 team, which we have the Green Bay Packers. Could be some debate to have maybe the Ravens or the Vikings here who actually have the better record. But what we're seeing from the Packers is a very impressive performance. And again, it comes down to health. This doesn't mean who's got the best record or whatnot. But with Jordan Love now fully healthy, some of the defensive players coming back, Josh Jacobs really performing well, we love the Packers here at 4. And there's a reason we had the Packers selected right there in front of this matchup, the Packers at the Lions, the Thursday night game for this week. This is a game last season, if people recall, Packers went into Detroit and won on Thanksgiving Day and won in impressive fashion. And then that was kind of the game that was the catalyst to their late season surge that took them deep into the playoffs, ultimately losing the divisional round at San Francisco. And we look at Detroit, if you've seen these videos before, we're really high on the Lions, but this is one of the worst times for them with their defensive injuries. Pretty much their entire linebacking core is out. We know Aiden Hutchinson was out a few weeks back, a few other injuries on the D-line. We think Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, etc. can exploit that. I think it'll be a close game. We think the Packers get the upset here, 28-24 over the Lions. Jaguars at the Titans, two teams with very disappointing seasons. Horrible game in Week 13 for the Jaguars, and that dirty hit on Trevor Lawrence. As a Texans fan, we were embarrassed by that. That should never happen. No place in the NFL for that sort of stuff. But anyway, we think here Titans, Will Levis got a slight advantage over the Jaguars, who actually played very well, hosting the Texans, kept that game close, had a chance to tie it at the end, only lost 23-20. We think similarly here, Titans have the advantage. Home field's very important. I think Will Levis and that offense, but really that defense has played surprisingly well this season, up there in top 10 pass defense. So we like the Titans here, 21-14. Let's look at our power rankings and look at the number 3 team, which we have as the top team in the AFC, the Buffalo Bills, looking really good against San Francisco. Of course, that was an injury-depleted roster, but winning against Kansas City, winning games that typical Bills teams in the past have lost, maybe inferior opponents such as Seattle. Not that they're bad, not as good as the Bills. We like them here at 3. Raiders at the Bucs, and the rematch of that famous Pirate Bowl Super Bowl from about 20 years ago. Look at these two teams. Raiders really rebuilding, probably going to get a quarterback in the offseason. The Bucs are tied now, losing on tiebreaker, but tied for the NFC South. Like we said last week, watch out for these guys. Baker is playing phenomenally well. Great clutch win at Carolina. Getting behind late, coming back to tie it, sending overtime, and then winning it. Showed a lot of character. We think this team is the one that's going to win the NFC South. Saints at the Giants. Again, 2 more teams playing for 2025. The Saints, not sure what's going on there with a key injury to Taysom Hill. They had a little bit of a flash, a little bit of resurgence with Taysom Hill and Derek Carr came back from injury. But now with Hill gone, he really is the core of that offense. They've been playing great this season with him out. Look at the Giants. They don't have much on offense either, so we're not going to bet this. We're going to give you our prediction like we always do, 17-14 Giants, just because of the home team. But again, this is one of those games that there's not much of an edge on either side, and not to be too weak or neutral, we wouldn't touch this one. Back to the power rankings, and our number 2 team, the Detroit Lions. We think this is the team that should be the number 1 team, but you have to be realistic and look at their current slate of injuries. We think that they have the opportunity before the playoffs to come back, and it's very crucial that they stay ahead of the Vikings to keep that number 1 seed to get that bye and get healthy. But as it stands now with those injuries, we have them drop down to number 2. Jets at the Dolphins, and trust us when we give you our pick on the Dolphins. We're based here in South Florida. We kind of know the pattern. These guys were Texans fans. We know how the Dolphins operate, which is to go to Green Bay in cold weather. There's no chance they were going to win that. But home against an inferior team, the Jets, sorry Jets fans, they are. We love the Dolphins here, 28-21. Tua and Tyreek should work that magic. Not sure what's going on with the Jets. That was a very unimpressive game. It's been an unimpressive season. We would be surprised if Rodgers is back next season. Seahawks at the Cardinals. The Seahawks manhandled Aaron Rodgers and the Jets in the Week 13 matchup. Cardinals so close to a victory on the road at Minnesota. 2 painful road games in a row, 2 road losses. We look at this one as a potential revenge game as they barely lost to the Seahawks at Seattle. We think this is an entirely different team at home. We see the revenge. We see coming off a tough loss. We also see Seattle coming off a win. A lot of setups favor the Cardinals in this one, so we're going to go with them 24-14 over their division rival. Let's finish out our power rankings to give it the new number 1 team, which is the Philadelphia Eagles. Has there been a more impressive team the past 8-9 games? We think Saquon's got to be right there in the MVP discussion. We're not sure when the last time a running back won that award, but he's definitely made the difference in that Eagles offense, making them challengers in our number 1 team. Panthers at the Eagles. Our number 1 team hosts the Panthers, who have been playing better lately. Almost had the Buccaneers in the Week 13 matchup. We think the Eagles are going to be just too much. We think that defense will swarm all over Bryce Young. Could be a risk of a potential letdown after that key matchup against the Ravens. We don't think they'll allow that to happen. They're playing for the number 1 seed, so they really can't afford to slip up against an inferior team. We like the Eagles here, 31-14. Browns at the Steelers in a rematch of that snow game from earlier this season, in which the Browns had to do almost everything right to get a victory over the Steelers. Jameis played a phenomenal game. It was a really interesting final 5 minutes of that game, went the Browns' way. But in this game, taking a look at what the Steelers just did against the Bengals, we really thought the Bengals would outplay them there as it was a must-win game for them. They did not. Steelers put up unbelievable offense, and the defense played well as always. In this game, we think the Steelers get their measure of revenge against the Browns, 27-17. We think, again, the Browns had to do everything right to win over Pittsburgh at home. Here at Pittsburgh, we see it going the other way. Steelers, 27-17.
That's all for this time. Thank you for joining. Please subscribe to our channel, and we look forward to sharing our future videos with you.